VS Series position adjustment. Connect to the image adjustment simulator, and this will be used to show how the position adjustment function works and the image position adjustment tool. The sample images are a metal target that have been backlit, and we'll show you how the position adjustment function works. In the main task of the VS Creator here, you do have a positioning category when you're adding tools. So you can add tools from this positioning category if you want to use them for position adjustment. So when I click the Add Tool button in the positioning category, it'll bring up the common tools that are used for position adjustment. Very common to use either patterns or edges, but blob tool can also be used, etc. It doesn't necessarily have to be in the positioning category, the tool. As long as it has a valid X, Y, or angle, it can be used for position adjustment with other tools. But the positioning category kind of makes it easy. And when you do add a tool from the positioning category, it will make it the automatic default tool used for position adjustment when you add new tools. And I'll show that when we get to it here. So for this first example, let's go ahead and we're going to use some edge positioning at first, and then we'll build on this. So add an edge position tool to the task. And what we'll do is we'll find this X edge here of this target, this leading edge here. So we'll leave it the shape rectangle, and I'll draw this region around the center of the target here. And this is what we'll use this to account for X movement in the X direction here. So put it about down the center of the part, kind of like this, and then click OK. You can refer to the Edge tool videos for more details on how the Edge tools work, but we're going to use all the default settings. It's scanning in the forward direction and finding that edge, as you can see here. Now, since we've added the Edge position tool from the positioning category, it did make it the default position adjustment tool. So if I click this position adjustment button, you can see it did make it tool number 1, our Edge position tool, the default position adjustment reference. So whenever we add new tools, it will automatically be linked to whatever you have set here. You can set this to none if you want, or there's some other settings here. We'll get back to this and show you some more. But right now, when we add a new tool, it will automatically be linked to this tool. So let's go ahead and we're going to add a simple blob tool to count and locate these holes. So from the inspection category, I'm going to click Add. And then from the count category, we'll go ahead and add the blob tool. Again, you can refer to the blob tool tutorial for more details on how the blob tool works, but we're just going to draw a rectangle on the target to locate and count the holes. You can see right here. Click OK. And again, we're going to just use all the default settings for now. We're not going to set any limits, but of course you would continue to set up the rest of the tool. But I just want to show you the position adjustment function. That's the main key here. So if you go to the region settings here, you can see this is where you can set the position adjustment, but notice that it's already linked to tool number 1 because that is our default position adjustment tool. All right, so you see you don't have to do anything special here. So if I play through these images, if I play image number 2, you can see we have some shift in the X direction here. Let me turn on so you can see both regions. But you can see that our blob tool does move with the X movement. All right, so if you're just moving in the X only, we're all good to go here. But if you go to image number 4 here, you'll notice that we have a shift in Y. All right, so in this example, we need to account for shift in Y. So we'll do that in our next step here. Okay, to keep things simple, I'm going to go back to image number 1. Again, I'm just going to start there all the time. I'm just going to use that as my starting point here. So back to image number 1 here. I'm going to add a Y edge position to the position adjustment category here. So if I click Add Tools, we're just going to add another edge position tool. This time it'll find the Y direction. All right, again, we get that same message that adding a tool from this category will make it the default. Now, we already did that, so tool number 1 currently is our default, but we'll fix that. But for this Y edge, what we want to do is we want to rotate the box 90 degrees, so it's scanning from top to bottom. And we'll put this Y edge box Again, kind of roughly in the center of this target, like so. And then we will use all the default settings with this as well. So it's going to scan from top to bottom in this case, because our direction of scan is top to bottom, and it will locate that top edge. Now, to incorporate this into the position adjustment, we need to go back to the position adjustment category here. And whenever you need to specify different tools, not just one tool for the default position adjustment, you need to activate this specify individually, and then you can individually specify a tool for X, Y, and angle if need be. So for right now, we're going to turn off the angle. We don't need the angle correction. We just need to account for X and Y. And then to link the tools here, you just click this little link button. So for the X, we're going to link it to our tool number 1 that we first set up. So go to the data list here, and then in the edge position results here, tool number 1, find the X edge position. Oops. Expand that back out here. So X, want the position X. So click OK here. So this will be linked to tool number 1, which is our X position. And then we'll do the same thing down here for the Y. So we'll link the Y to the tool number 3 that we set up. So same steps here, except this time, let's go to tool number 3 down here. Let's expand this out, scroll down, and I'll find my Y position. So there it is. So we're going to link this to the Y. So we have 2 different tools. One's going to give us our Y. One's going to give us our X. So here's tool number 1, X. And here's tool number 3, Y. All right, and this will be our default position adjustment when we add new tools. But since we've already added the blob tool before, if I click on this, you'll see that it's still referring to tool number 1, because that's when it was the default when we first added it. So I'm just going to fix this. We're going to specify individually. I'll just fix this now. Let's turn off this angle. And let's fix this reference here. So this first one point here, this first link, actually is still okay because it's the X position. So we're okay with that. But we need to fix this one because right now it's pointing to the tool number 1, Y. Again, this will be set automatically when you add new tools. If it's the default, but since we've added it before, we just need to fix this. So I'm just going to fix this link to be the Y position. And you'll see now this one is linking. The first one, again, is tool number 1. So it's linking to the Y. If you hover over it, it should pop in there. And then this is that's the X. And then tool number 3, the Y. All right. So we need to fix our blob region real quick because it was trying to adjust from the previous setting. So I'm just going to move my blob box back into the proper position here, as you can see here. And then now we're in the proper position. So now if I play through these images, you can see, of course, it's accounting for X. And now it's also accounting for Y. So as I keep scrolling through these, you can see is accounting for both directions. Now, when I get to image number 7 here, you can see we're on the 7th image. You can see it's got an X edge, but we moved out of our Y range here. So if you have a scenario like this, you need to attack this differently. So it positioned the X direction, but has no Y edge to position. So that's why the box jumped. So we need to account for that because when this box moved out of range. Of course, we could move our box, possibly make it bigger, but I'll show you how you can account for this. So again, just to make things easy, I'm going to go back to image number 1 because that's a nice little centered image to work with. So what we'll do is, in this example here then, what we'll do is we'll keep the tool number 1, the X position is fine. We'll make this be like the primary edge, if you will. So we'll locate our X edge, and then what we'll do is we'll have this tool number 3, which is locating the Y, be positioned by the X first, and then what we'll do is we'll make this tool be our position adjustment tool. So let's, I'm going to go click on tool number 3, which is finding our Y edge, and then go to the region settings. So right now you can see it has no position adjustment. By the way, as you noticed, in the region settings of any tool, this is where you can set up the position adjustment function if it's not already set up or not the default. So what we can do here is I'm going to have tool number 1 position adjust this tool. So in other words, this tool number 3, which is locating our Y edge, will be first positioned in the X first, and then it will find the Y edge. And then what we can do is we can reference tool number 3 in our other tools. So we'll make that our default. So I'm going to go back to the position adjustment settings here. I'm going to turn off that individual, and then I'm going to make tool number 3, which is our Y edge, be our default position adjustment tool. Now, it will also adjust for X because tool number 3 is already being adjusted for X, and then it will find the Y. So this will include both X and Y correction because of the way we have it set up. So I'm going to go ahead and click OK here. Now, again, let's go back to our blob tool. We need to, again, since we've already added the tool in advance, we just need to make sure we set the position adjustment correctly. So go back to the blob tool, and then we're going to turn off that individual. We're no longer going to use that. We're going to just simply point the tool or point the position adjustment to tool number 3. All right, so this will first, as you see, we'll play through the images and you'll see what it does here. So as I play through the images here, you can see, again, the X shift, but notice that the Y box also moved with the X first, okay? And then the blob tool is also moving correctly. So far it's just been X, but here's our Y shift. There's more shift in the Y. So you can see our Y box is moving with the X, and then our tool is properly being positioned. All right, until we get to image number 9, I think it is. Let's see, 1, 2, whatever number image is it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So image number 9. Once we get to image number 9, you'll notice this one is angled. So if you're just doing simple X-Y position, that's good for like linear movement in the X or Y direction. But you can see if you introduce angular positioning, we need to account for that. So the best way to do that is to use pattern type tools. So we'll show that here in the next steps. Okay, so as we did before, I'm going to go back to image number 1 again, just because I like this. It's kind of nice and centered, so that's why I like using this one. But we'll use that as our reference here. So what I'll do is I'm going to delete the edge tools for now. So if you want to leave them in there, fine. But I'm going to delete them because I'm not going to use them this time. I'm going to use the Shape Tracks pattern tool. We'll leave the blob tool in there. Again, we could fix it. We'll fix the position adjustment if need be, because right now it's probably got an error because it's referencing a tool that doesn't exist since we deleted it. But we'll fix that when we add our Shape Tracks tool. As you can see here, it's referencing tool number 3. Since it's there, let's just set that to none for now, and we'll get back to that. Actually, you know what? Let's go ahead and just delete the blob tool for now. We'll just re-add the new tool. We'll re-add it back in after we do our Shape Tracks tool. Okay, so let's go ahead and add our pattern tool from the positioning category here. For X, Y, and angle, we can use pattern search, which is the grayscale pattern search, or we can use Shape Tracks, which is it will extract out the profile of the target and locate that pattern. So we're going to use the Shape Tracks 3A in this example, but pattern search would work as well. Add that to the task, and then draw your pattern region around the target. And in this example, we'll be getting a new image because we don't have any model images right now. So we'll go ahead and click OK. So you will see here it extracts the profile of the target, and we'll be able to locate that in any orientation. So another benefit of the pattern tools like pattern search and Shape Tracks is it can locate the orientation of this target. If you notice, these two holes are a little closer than this hole here. So edges wouldn't be able to account for that, as well as the angle, of course. But if this part flipped 180, it would not know that, but the pattern tool and Shape Tracks will be able to account for that. Now, I'm going to use mostly the default settings for the Shape Tracks, but we do need to increase the angle range. So I'm going to make it plus or minus 180 as far as the angle range. So it could be any orientation, including 180. But everything else, I'm going to go ahead and leave default. Just make sure you set the angle range accordingly. All right, so since we've added this tool fresh from the position adjustment category, you can see that it is the default position adjustment reference when adding new tools, so that's already set. So now let's go ahead and re-add our blob tool back into the task here. So I'm just going to re-add the blob tool back in, just like we did before. And we're going to draw our rectangle in the target, same as we did in before. So you can see it's counting our blobs. Again, we'll leave all the default settings. And notice if I go to region, you can see that it is defaulted to the tool number 1 shape track, so it will follow the target. So if I play through these images now, you can watch the blob tool being position adjustment in the X and Y, and the angle as well. So you can see any orientation. So the shape tracks tool will report back the angle range, and you will know what orientation the target is. Okay, now you'll notice in some of these images towards the end of the film strip here, we have another target that entered the picture here, so a washer, in addition to our original target. So we're going to show you an example of 2 independent position adjustments. So you could have more than one positioning tool, and you could have different tools referencing different position tools if you want. All right, so let's add another shape tracks to locate this washer object separately from this. And then we'll have a different tool do some inspection on this, and it can be tracked separately, completely independently of this. All right, so let's go ahead and add another shape tracks 3A tool. We'll use the same tool, but this time we'll locate this washer. Again, we get that same message mentioning about the default position adjustment. We'll get back to that in a minute after we set up our tool. Now, when we first added the first shape tracks, we registered a model image, but that model image did not include the washer. So right now it's referencing that previously saved model image. So what we'll do is we'll just get a new image. We'll save another one so that includes the washer, and then we'll put our pattern around that. Now, if we knew this ahead of time, we could have made this one model image, but we'll just add a new one for this. And what I'll do, I'm going to change this to ring as far as the type. And then we'll put a ring around our target here. So click, 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 and then we'll put our pattern region, and it will extract out the edges of this target. And just click OK. So you'll see it extracts the edges, and it's finding the target. Now, for this one, we don't really need any angle range because it's a round target. So I'm just going to turn the angle range off so it doesn't try to find the angle of it, because it's symmetric, obviously, in any orientation. So we'll just set the angle range to 0, and then we'll leave everything else default for this one. All right, so we don't really want a default position adjustment in this example now, since we're having 2 different things. So we'll specify it per tool. So if you're going to specify it per tool, I'm going to go into the position adjustment settings. I'm just going to set this to none. So don't have a default. So whenever I add tools, it's not going to automatically link it to anything specific. So click OK, and then we're going to add a tool inspection for this. But before we do that, real quick, let's just click back on the blob here. I just want to show you, blob is still referencing tool number 1. So the blob tool will still be positioned by that. And what we'll do is we'll add another inspection tool that will be tracked by this target. For this example, we're going to add the profile width inspection tool to this washer here to inspect the washer, and then we'll have it track with tool number 3. So from the inspection tools, I'm going to go ahead and add from the measurements dimensions category. We'll go with width, and we'll go profile width. So we're going to add a profile width tool. Refer to the tool tutorial profile width video if you want more details on how this tool works. But basically, it's going to get the min and max outer diameter around the washer here. So I'm going to change it to a ring, and then click my points to draw my inspection region. So with this tool, it's going to scan and look for edges here. I'm just going to leave everything else default. Of course, you would set the rest of the tool up and limits and all that, but I just want to show the tracking purposes. If we go to the region tab, this is where you can set the tracking, of course, the position adjustment. So you can see that we've turned off our default. We don't have a default, so it's none. So we can point it to whatever tool we want. So I'm going to point this one to the shape tracks tool, the number 3. So it follows with that. So both these tools will follow independently, as you'll see in a minute here. So let me go ahead and play these images now. You can see that the profile position tool tracks the washer. Meanwhile, our blob tool is still tracking with the original tool. All right, so they're completely moving separately on their own based on the locations of the pattern tools. So you can definitely have multiple different position adjustments, references as needed. Now, what if the washer is not there? Notice in the beginning images here, or these images towards the front, the washer is not present. So of course, there's nowhere for that tool to position adjust against to, and it just goes to 0, 0. So one easy way to combat that is simply put a limit on my Shape Tracks tool here. So I'll go ahead back to tool number 3, which was the original Shape Tracks tool. And what we'll do is we'll put a judgment on this tool, so it will fail if the part's not there. So this is probably something you do. So if it's not there, let's fail it. And then what we'll do in the profile with tool is we'll set the execute condition. So only execute this tool if the Shape Tracks passes that it's there. So that's set in the general tab. So I'm going to go ahead and set follow the result of another tool, and we'll follow the we'll follow the number 3 tool for this one. So tool number 3, if tool number 3 passes, then and only then execute this tool. All right, so now if I play through these images, you'll see the tool is not executing, and that Shape Tracks is failing. All right, so that's an example of all the different position adjustment functions. One more example of what you can do with position adjustment is you can actually position adjust the image and then run tools on the position adjusted image. So this is in the image conversion section of the tools, and it's called image position adjustment. So I'm going to add that tool to this task, and I'm going to use the original Shape Tracks 3A pattern tool number 1, this target right here, to do my correction. All right, so here is where you put your reference for this image adjustment tool. So notice that you can do the same thing. I can specify individually, or I could just link it to a specific tool. So I'm going to link this to tool 1 specifically, all right, because I'm going to have it position adjust based on that. So you choose your tool reference or your position reference. And then what this tool will do is if I go to image correction here, you can see there is my Shape Tracks. You can see the reference position information here and detected. We can go to the region. We can adjust the entire region or entire image or a specific rectangle, which I'm going to leave the entire image. But if I play through the images, notice that the image is being adjusted based on the position of the Shape Tracks. The first one, tool number 1. All right. So notice it adjusts the image, and then so then you can do tool on this. It generates an output image, and you can run your tools on this image if you want. All right. Now, if you want to fill that area in here that there is no image, as a default, it fills that in with 0 or black. You can put your own number in here, like 255, for example, or you can just simply extend image. Whatever the pixel value is at the edge, it'll fill it in. So if you want to fill that in, you can set this processing outside capture area. All right, so notice, let me run through these images again. You can see that the image itself is being position adjusted. All right, so let's just add a quick tool. I'm going to add another simple blob tool but I'll add it to this corrected image this time. So I'm going to add one more tool. I'm just going to use that same blob tool that we've been showing earlier. But this time, notice when we add a tool, now that we have more than one image, you can choose which image you want to add your tool to. So notice I can select this image that's being output from tool number 5 now, which is my position adjusted image. So if I add that, now I could just simply draw my inspection region where I need to. In this case, the same thing, the target here. And notice that I do not need any position adjustment because this one's going to already be position adjusted by that image position adjustment tool. So that's another thing you can do with position adjustment is use the image adjustment tool, image position adjustment tool to adjust the image, and then just run the tools on the already adjusted image.